Much different Illinois team than the one we faced a year ago, there's no question. With having Abrams back, those other guys are improved. I don't think we went against LaRon Black. They're all better. I mean, they really are. They won 6 of their last 7. They're playing really good basketball. The Ohio State win was a very good win for them. And they played very, very well on both ends of the floor. I think we played against Thorne one game. And our guys have really done a good job, I think, over the last couple of days, being locked in to how good Illinois is, but really being locked in, more importantly, to how much better we can get daily. And I'm really happy with the way we've worked. You know, obviously we got to go play the game and got to see how it carries out, but our attitudes have been great. There's an energy about them, and whether it be the film room, whether it be the isolation of skills in our work, whether it be the practice work, whether it be the weight room, whatever it is. And that's the good thing. You know, they're young, and we keep trying to get across them. It's a very long season. And we've had a tough week and a half, and yet every one of those games, late in the game, the goal of winning was attainable. And mistakes here and there, near the end, mistakes in the middle at places, it's all part of it. And again, there's so many things that we can do to be better, but it's all things that we have done. And the number one thing that's going to put us over the hump to really, really get better is to have consistent leadership from everybody on the floor. And it's not about the 1 or 2 leaders. It's about a group of guys that really, really work together, that we can stretch better possessions, better segments of the game, and then obviously the biggest things, we got to take care of the ball better. We've got to be better, and not only in our pressure, but in our shot challenges, and we've got to quit having empty possessions. And so it's been a week of making sure that we're not only getting better, but that we're getting our energy where it needs to be, trying to build our health as much as we possibly can, but very, very importantly, making sure that we understand that we can be a very good basketball team. We have been, and we just want to learn from what we've done, and hopefully we'll do that.
Thomas talked about mindset and accountability amongst themselves. You're talking about individual leadership. Is that?
Well, I think that's part of it. Yeah, I think it's just conversations on the court. I think it's that. I mean, and we're not losing games because we're not playing hard. And we're not losing games because we're not playing competitive. We're not always playing as verbal as we need to be. We're not always playing with the urgency that we need to have. But really, we're not always playing with the awareness. And I think what happens is you got to remind each other more and more on the court. But there's also things we need to get better at, and isolation of skills is really, really important. A lot of small group workouts, a lot of attention being paid to different decision-making situations for guys. I mean, it's every day is a different day. You don't go in and say, okay, well, we're just going to do this today just like we did yesterday. It doesn't work that way anyways. So you want to go in there and you want to make sure that you're giving something they can absolutely get better from. And I think the biggest thing for us is we're playing with really good energy, but we got to be engaged more. We got to be engaged more with one another. That's accountability, those type of things that come in just countless times in a game, that it happens. And that's where we definitely have to improve and become much more consistent.
I guess I've asked this about a couple of different things, but you talk about sort of developing leadership. Is that something where you want to be careful guys aren't forcing that too much to?
Oh, I think so. Yeah, we again, when you every time Colin Hartman opens his mouth in a film room or in practice, you realize there's so much you miss him on the court, right? I mean, so much of that was we would be so much further ahead with him on the floor. I mean, he was a good player. I mean, very good players. I mean, so the moving without the ball, all those type of things are really important. But guys having a direct influence on how you need to be on the court. And he got so much of that the last couple of years. I mean, he watched Troy grow, and he was a part of that. He watched Yogi develop more into a leader. There's what Colin brought the team when he was on the court, along with some of the other guys before. And this is what we just haven't gotten to yet. There's a safety that you have with certain guys. All right, it's not about their talent as much sometimes. It's just And it's not about trust. It's that they make you feel safer on the court because of the way they're going to protect you. And it's not about being an enforcer. I don't mean like that, but they're going to move. They're going to make the game easier for you with their cutting, with their ball movement, with their reminders. And it's just those countless things that they're not obvious, but they happen for a player. They happen for a team. And so for us right now, we have not had a team this year, even when we've had the big wins, where it was one or two guys leading the way with all of that. We've had guys play well. We've had good, and we just showed in one of the last videos we showed is the togetherness that we have had in so many moments on the court, the huddles, things of that nature. We can't be afraid to say what needs to be said during the course of the game, not just in the huddle. And sometimes it's encouraging, sometimes it's demanding. That's accountability. That takes some time, and again, we've had it at times, but until you have it consistently, you really don't have it. And that's what we're trying to build towards. But last year, every team goes through it to a certain degree, but this one doesn't have, and now the most important thing is that we don't have any shake of confidence because we've lost some games, and the most important thing is for us to understand how close we are in those games, with things going a little bit differently here and there in certain spots, to having those wins, really in all three of them. And again, you can go back to Louisville. We knocked down some of those shots that are wide open. It's another story, but it's not, right? So you got to be able to build from that, and get your guys to understand. Okay, let's control what we can control, and talking to one another and helping one another out on the court. That's something that they can control.
Just on an individual level, is there anything you point to the last week or so with Thomas and say this is something we need to tighten up here or there?
Oh, absolutely. But everybody's like that. Okay, so no, there's no question. Thomas would be no different than anybody else, and I think they get energy from that. I think they get energy from their improvement. I think they get energy from. This is a group that's last year's team really understood that details made the difference. I mean, they really did. They understood that a step here, a step there, being in the right position. This team hasn't grasped that yet. All right, they grasp it at times, they haven't grasped it all the way. And that's some of the youth, that's some of the inexperience, but it's also some of the understanding of the game. And we made a couple points today in practice. Well, wait a minute. Why would we run this when he's in the game and bring him here that's going to bring the help? When he's in the game, we'll bring him in this situation because they can't help as much. There's got to be as much constant teaching of the game, the understanding of the game, not, hey, we're just playing. Right? Because they're playing hard. But we've got to understand, sometimes seeing the play before the play, it's really hard for young guys, but we've got to try to keep teaching them to see that. And the simpler we can make it, the better. But they're everybody. Thomas is he's part of everyone, that there's been certain things that we can really, really isolate to help them get better.
Yeah, Tom, how hard is it to recruit a strong leader? And is that something that maybe once you get a kid here, then you can help develop, or can you just tell this kid has it, even if maybe his skill isn't super high?
No, sometimes you can see it. Yeah, sometimes you can see it. But again, it doesn't matter who it is. And being in the family that I'm in on Joni's side, I've learned a lot about that from watching those guys, in their situation, especially when Jim played. And then we can always compare notes on guys that they've had. Like, just because somebody's anointed a leader or somebody comes in as a leader, that doesn't really mean anything. It's that safety that you have with playing with that person. It's that person's awareness. Talent helps, there's no doubt about that. But can you be the same player under pressure? And that's when your leadership has got to emerge, and you've got to go through different things on that. Can you recruit for it? Yes. Is it harder to find? Absolutely. When you've got to get the other parts of the package to go with it. And but coming in and being consistent in your approach, that's good leadership. Coming in and being consistent in your fundamentals of rebounding or being in position defensively, that's good leadership. And there's very few players that are going to be really, really confident of saying what needs to be said when they're unsure of it themselves. And that takes some time. And that's what we just have to continue to grow through. And what have you asked about forcing it? You can't force the issue. You got to make sure you show them when it's there, and you got to make sure you point out when it's not there. And hopefully they just keep learning, through all those experiences.
You said earlier in the season that sometimes this team likes each other too much. Is that something that you feel has changed since?
What do you mean?
In terms of being able to criticize teammates?
No, it doesn't have anything to do with it. No, I mean, I don't see any of that. When I say like each other too much, that was certainly meant, and they don't get on each other enough at times. But no, I don't see that. But I mean, again, it's what I just said there. It's the confidence to know when you're struggling in your own game at times. I mean, it's really, really hard to come back. Like, I just read a story, not to get off the subject, but I mean, this is hard. I read a story where in Portland, okay, one of the players with the Trailblazers had spoke up after a game that had been injured, and he hadn't really been around the team as much. And this guy that played on a championship team with the Warriors, Festus Ezeli. And one of the players, C.J. McCollum, I just read this last night, didn't want to hear it, right? Like, those guys are out there battling. You know, does that mean that he's not right? No. What happens is sometimes you got to pick and choose your spots with your teammates. And everything's different, every day's different. But the common ingredient of why this team has been good and why it will continue to get better is they really do like each other. Now, does that mean they're always willing to say what needs to be said? No, because they're not where they need to be in their own games. And so sometimes you've got to be able to work through that, you know, and it's that, hey, I know if I get on you, okay, that you're going to take it the right way because we're all trying to do the same thing. That takes some time, but we're definitely working towards it.
Your turnover rate for Florence is down a little bit this year. Has that surprised you, or is that something you can get?
Yeah, we're not as aggressive as we need to be. We've definitely taken steps the last couple of days to keep looking at certain things that would help us create more turnovers without gambling. I don't think we're a team that can go take a lot of chances right now, even though we've got some pretty good rim protection. I don't think we're that kind of team. Now, we do have a team, like I said the other night, that can play different ways offensively. They can play different ways defensively. But Colin Hartman had a great point. You want to have solid pressure, right? I mean, kids like a coach, right? You want to have solid pressure. So, like, what we don't want to do, and again, we're very game plan specific in certain situations because everybody, you know, has got certain strengths that you want to try to take that away. So I think the turnover rate wouldn't look as bad if we weren't turning it over the way that we were, right? And sometimes what's happened to us is we'll get the turnover and we'll turn it over right back, right? And we've got to break that. But I think we'll find ways to create more turnovers. But to me, the most important thing to me on that, outside of your field goal percentage defense and three-point defense, is that rebound rate. And we've got to keep making sure that we're finishing possessions with a defensive rebound. So that's the greatest focus we're going to have outside of transition defense and making sure that we're getting our hands up.
All right, Coach.
Anybody else? We good? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.